So hi everyone, welcome, and today's video is going to be a little bit of a travel log. I had to go up to Yosemite Valley to check out the organ that's at the chapel there that I take care of, and did a little practicing for a wedding I'm going to be doing, an upcoming wedding I'm going to be doing, and we're going to talk a little bit about my childhood and the impact that Yosemite National Park had on that. But first, let's take a look at this. On my YouTube channel, you will find a variety of video products, including my arts and entertainment video podcast, Other Stages. Other Stages features music, stories, and thoughtful conversations with guests from across the entertainment spectrum. Also on YouTube, you will find my music videos that feature my original work and the classical repertoire. The Organ Technology series explores the fascinating ways in which organs have been built through history. You can sponsor my YouTube channel by joining me on Patreon, where you will receive exclusive Patreon-only content as a thank you for your support. You can also support my work at Venmo and PayPal, and you will always find these links in the video descriptions. So as a kid growing up, my family had a cabin on Highway 41 just outside of the little town of Fish Camp, which is right before you enter Yosemite National Park. Don't get any big ideas. It was not a fancy cabin, and it took the entire extended family to chip in to get this thing. But on weekends, we would be up there, winter or summer. And a lot of times, we had a piece of property to play around on. There were lots of roads that we could ride motorcycles on. There were nearby streams we could go fishing in. All kinds of great stuff. For me, the greatest thing was that right next door, the adjacent property, was the Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine Railroad, which was a little tourist train ride that ran on part of the old Madera Sugar Pine Company's railroad right-of-way. Now, those logging railroads back in the day, they would have a central location that they would start from, and then they would just build track like great fingers out into the forest and basically clear-cut the forest and, haul it all down. There was a flume that ran at one time and all kinds of stuff. So back in the late 60s, a guy named Rudy Stauffer got the rights to build about a mile of track on the old right-of-way, got a locomotive from the West Side Lumber Company and put together some cars and stuff. And that was really my favorite thing about the cabin property, because if the rest of the family wasn't doing anything that I was really excited about, I would go over to the railroad, and the guys that worked there got to know me, and if I was there, they would let me ride in the cab of the locomotive all day long. It was really a great experience. And of course, very frequently we would go into Yosemite National Park, and so that was kind of a bit of a playground when I was a kid. Spent a lot of time there, and let's face it, Yosemite National Park is, the most beautiful spot on the planet. Go ahead and try to prove me wrong. It is just amazing, and what a wonderful experience it was to spend a lot of time up there as a kid. In the wintertime, of course, there is a ski area at Yosemite. It's kind of when you go up the Glacier Point Road out of Chinkapin, and you go up there, and there's a little ski area called Badger Pass, and we used to go there too in the wintertime. So we got to do a lot of really terrific things when I was a kid. There were a couple of other nice places. In Fish Camp, there was a great little place called the Snowline Lodge, and they had a really wonderful restaurant there, and we would sometimes go eat breakfast on Sunday morning there. But if you go a little further up into the park, there was also the Wawona Hotel, a beautiful historic spot, and they also had a really terrific restaurant, a Sunday brunch there. And so, yeah, I got to do a lot of neat stuff when I was a kid up and around Yosemite National Park. Now, these days, I take care of the organ that's in the chapel at Yosemite National Park. It's a Rogers Model 780. Rogers didn't build a lot of these. They were not terribly popular, but there's, I think, 30 or 40 of them out there. It was intended to be both a theater organ and a classic organ, and I shot a little video while I was there practicing, and here I'll tell you all about it. So here we are at the historic Yosemite Chapel inside the room here. This was built back the late days of the 19th century. It's mostly unchanged. It was very simple. The beadboard on the back wall appears to be maybe a little newer than original, but who knows. There's a little reed organ over there. I don't know that it works. And of course a piano up front. I'm doing a wedding here, and my aunt got married here many years ago. The main organ is actually in the back here, but the speakers are up front behind all that beadboard. Fortunately, there's gaps in the beadboard to let it speak through. And here we have a look at Rogers 780. So let me set the camera up on the tripod and I'll give you a little tour of this instrument. Now, I'm here all alone today. I'm the service technician who takes care of this organ, so I have to come up here from time to time, and yeah, that's a pretty cool gig. You know, I get to get into Yosemite for free for the day and do a little work and make sure this organ's in good shape, and then come up here once in a while to play a wedding. Now, this particular instrument was one of several attempts by the Rogers Organ Company in the mid-1980s to create an organ that would kind of fit both bills of being a classic organ and a theater organ at the same time. And you know, the simple fact is that that's a really tough thing to pull off. Just the tonal palette of a theater organ and the tonal palette of a classic organ are very, very different. And the way that that tonal palette is configured to the keyboards is also very different. But this was one of their attempts. So basically you have a stopped flute tone up here. You know, when you put the big heavy tremolo on it. Kind of passes as a tibia. The strings are done in an interesting way. You have just a two-rank viola celeste that's kind of halfway between a theater organ sound and a classic organ sound. And then you have this gamba, which is much more theater organ-like, bright, buzzy. And then there's a, you know, basic diapason. So then the tibia rank is unified at all pitches. There's a mixture in here. And then we have kind of a mix of classic organ reeds and theater organ reeds. So we have a harmonic trumpet and an oboe. Then we had a vox humana with a big heavy tremolant on it. You know, put that with the tibia and the big heavy trem. Throw the strings in there. And yeah, it kind of gives you a hint of a theater organ sound. It also has, of course, a post horn. Again, taken from the theater organ palette. And then the grate is set up to be, you know, more or less a classical grate, but you can get away with you know, playing, you know, theater organ type accompaniments on it. And it has some percussion, harp, which was never really a good thing the way it was generated electronically. Piano, kind of a harpsichord sound. So sure, you could maybe make it pass for a theater organ, but then it's really more a classic organ, and it really kind of falls somewhere in between. So they tried a couple of different models like this. Not a lot of them were built. I looked up the serial numbers on this, and there wasn't that many of this particular model built. Now the thing that to me was interesting about this instrument was that it's supposed to have 2 ranks of pipes, so it would be doubled as a theater organ, doubled as a classical organ, and have 2 ranks of pipes to really sell the classic organ sound. When this organ was gifted to the church here, the pipes were kept by the original owner, and it was still configured to play the pipes, and so it really wasn't correct just on its own as a standalone electronic instrument. So I had to come in and reset all of that arrangement. So there's pipe stops here that play on the swell keyboard, the upper keyboard, and then several of the great stops are also assigned to that same 2 ranks of pipes. About a year ago, I found a pipe set that was absolutely perfect for this organ and the right scale for the size of this room, and it would look really good at the peak over there of that end of the building. And I thought, that what an easy fundraiser, right? We could put a GoFundMe or Kickstarter or something together. We maybe needed $10,000, $15,000 to buy the set, get it up here, install it, get it all set up really nice, and hook it up, and that would have really made this organ spectacular. But for whatever reason, the church board said no. And I was, kind of sorely disappointed in that. I thought, it's basically free, but that's what they decided, and so here it is. So at the wedding, of course, I've got to play some of the typical stuff. And back in the day when I was in high school, I used to play every wedding I could. And I would play any wedding anywhere, on the weekends. And that was my primary way of earning extra money. So during the spring and summer months, I would be busy with, maybe 2 or 3 weddings on a weekend in addition to my church job. When I got out of high school and got into college, I had a regular job at a music store, and the owner really wasn't keen on me taking time off to go play a wedding on Saturday. And the problem with that was I was making $10 an hour at the music store, which was decent money at the time. And but I would make $100 for about an hour and a half's worth of work at a wedding. So, it was kind of, and the other employees at the store were like, yeah, we'll cover you while you're gone. Go take off, make some extra money. But the boss didn't like that, and so I kind of had to choose. And by that time I was getting a little tired of just playing any old wedding anywhere. I mean, at that time I would be like the one-man wedding show. I would sit at the piano and sing whatever dorky love song was popular at the time. Like there's that one, the Ice Castles theme, and this is back when I had a better voice. And if you know that I won't say awful, I guess, but I certainly got sick of singing it. That one, the Joe Cocker song, You Are So Beautiful, and in the beginning, I mean, when I first started doing it, when I was about 15, 16, You Light Up My Life was one of the big wedding songs, and it's like, ugh. And I had to sing those every weekend. And then I'd jump over to the organ and play them in, and of course, back in those days, it was the... And the Catholic Church at some point said, no, you can't play that. And they had some goofy reason for that. And so then I had to learn some better music. And thank God for that. This became very popular at weddings, and Uh, I certainly think it's a better thing, and it still is. So I'll be playing this at the wedding this weekend. Yeah, I think that got played for Princess Diana's wedding, actually, and that's when it became more of a standard wedding march. And I think my aunt had this one played, and I've never done it at a wedding before, of all things. But you know, I think it's a great recessional for a wedding, and this is the first time I've gotten to do it. I've wanted to learn this for a number of years now, so doing my best with it here. So all in all, not a bad selection of music for the wedding I'm playing. Of course, I do got to play the Pachelbel canon. That's become kind of the standard entrance. And it's actually, you know, it wouldn't be my first choice, but, you know, from the organist's perspective, it's in those 8-measure cycles. And so however long it takes, I can just keep playing until everybody's in, and then, well, okay, here I can wrap it up. So it makes for a good processional kind of thing, you know, mechanically speaking, that you can put it together. So when I got to college, you know, I just kind of lost interest in doing weddings any rate. And it was only the weddings that went along with the churches that I was working for that I would do on a regular basis. And in the 90s and into the 2000s, you know, organists got replaced at weddings. Weddings got much more sort of, well, I don't know, mushy, romantic kind of stuff where you know, march into a guitar player singing, you know, "He is now to be among you at the calling of your hearts," or something like that. And the organists got left out in the cold. A lot of weddings I played in those eras, it was really weird because you would have somebody with their karaoke machine singing some, you know, souped up accompaniment they're half singing to, and some syrupy love song, and then all of a sudden it'd be time for the bride to march in, and I'd have to play something big and grand on the organ. And the contrast was really quite jarring. But you know, weddings are one of those things where, you know, we don't have in the United States, I think, any like really set traditions on it. Everybody every wedding I've ever been at, you know, there's always been this, oh, we have to do this. This has always been done. And it's the first time I've ever heard of it. So you get a lot of different stuff. So yeah, it was fun coming in here last year and fixing up this old organ, and I'm here today to just kind of check it out. It seems everything seems to be working, and I'm getting a little practice in to prepare for what I got to do this Saturday. And so yeah, and it's fun to get to visit wonderful Yosemite National Park. You know, I can't think of a more beautiful place. So it is one of the weird little privileges I get for being a Rogers tech and getting to go up to places. Yosemite National Park happens to have a Rogers organ in their little historic chapel. And, you know, I get into the park for free as a result of that. And I get to go up there periodically. And, you know, mostly I'm working, but I do manage to stop and see the sights. And Yosemite, you know, we have that little circular road that goes around the valley, and you can just get on that, go slow. There's little stops you can make, and wonderful, wonderful sights to see. Trails that extend off of those little parking areas to go over to Bridal Veils Falls or get up close to the pinnacles. In fact, the chapel is right at the base of the pinnacles. Yosemite Falls. And of course, this season, unfortunately, Glacier Point Road is closed. Last time I drove it, it was really a mess, and so they're probably going to completely repave that. But if you go up there, you get one of the most incredible views on Earth. You can see the whole of Yosemite Valley, El Capitan, the Yosemite, the double Yosemite Falls, Half Dome, and then you can look up what's called Little Yosemite, and this whole other valley that you can see up into. And we did a backpacking trip when I was a kid up into the high country above the Little Yosemite Valley, and that's bear territory. And you're at the campgrounds, and the bears are in charge. Let me tell you. So that was quite a fun experience. Now, another thing that a lot of people don't know about, and I'll throw up a still shot of this. If you drive up Tioga Pass Road, you can get to some points where you can look down Yosemite Valley from the far side, and you have to go see this because it is absolutely spectacular. You're in the high Sierra above the tree line and snow year round, and it's just glorious. Anyway, that was my little trip to Yosemite Valley this time, and I hope you enjoyed this little travel log. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.